Happy today. I am William Brown from iamwilliambrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation designed to invite you to look at your language. Many times we can come up with all the lovely words that we can think of and still find ourselves in a place of disconnection. So I propose that we have a one-word conversation so we can learn a little bit more about ourselves, the person that we're speaking with, and possibly, just possibly, build on our relationship. One Word Conversations is brought to you by iamwilliambrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. That tagline will be changing soon, but it's still in my head, so it's going to come out. One way that I spotlight what's available at iamwilliambrown.com, the store, is our U cards. Our U cards are a part of the Beyond the Shell series. Beyond the Shell series includes 2 children's books, Finding You Beyond What Protects You and The Journey to Stay You, and also a journal, a Hello, You Are Complete journal. So the cards are a game, they are intention setting cards, and they are also journal prompts. So here are the cards that I picked to set the intention for this conversation. The I am card is I am kind. The you are card is you are lovable. And the quote card is I think you should just do it. So with the intention set, I invite you to like, share, comment, ask questions, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and then put the little bell so you can be alerted the next time we go live. So the word that we are talking about today is alternative. Alternative is the word. And when that word came up for me, I was like, I think that's going to be fun. So as I do, I will invite my guest in so we can have a conversation. Happy today.
Hello. Thank you so much, William.
This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Wow, thank you. So my name is Yermi Kurkus, and I go by, a entrepreneur slash, business owner or executive, however you guys like to consider yourselves. Um, you know, I try to coach these people, and I like to envision myself as an empowerment mentor because I believe that the business professional has everything they need within themselves. Just it's nice to have somebody from the outside to come in and sort of empower them and be their support on their side. So I consider myself an executive empowerment mentor.
Wow. Yeah, I get that. No, I appreciate it, and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
So the word of today is alternative. How does alternative land for you?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because recently my wife and I were talking a lot about happiness, and happiness is a stepping stone to empowerment, and we always ask ourselves, what does happiness mean, and how does that present itself in our life? How do we manifest happiness? And I always ask myself, just in everything I do, I always ask myself, what is the alternative? What
Hmm.
is the other side of whatever's happening? If
Hmm.
something is occurring to me in my life today, what is the alternative? What could be the other option? And
Right.
if it's negative, so what does the positive look like? If it's positive, what does the negative look like? And
Right.
if I look at it as a compare and contrast, then it's easy on me to sort of bring my to it allows me to embody the moment and make myself more present. And it
Hmm.
allows me to sort of feel what's going on. So I don't think we have to reject emotions or anything.
Right.
But if a certain situation is happening right now, this is a great time to sort of, compare and contrast and see, what's going on. And I just always ask myself, just what's the alternative? What could be the other option?
Wow. Yeah, I totally get that. I'm about the the other two. I can remember um, the the other side, right? So how alternative shows up for me is that other, is that the grass is greener, right, type of thing. And the one thing that I say about the grass may be greener, but it still needs to be mowed, right?
Hmm.
So so I mean, so whatever the other is in my mind, there is still work to be done. There is
Sure.
still there is still something to deal with. There is and so there are for me, I kind of accept, I don't know, or tolerate. I'm trying to really understand, because it feels like I am um I am resigning to something, to a current thing, but I'm
Mm,
always looking for the opportunity. So this is what I was going to say. I I will, if I find myself in a difficult situation, or what I label as a difficult situation, I will just say to myself many times, I will say, well, I'm here.
mm,
This is just it, right? I
mm,
caused this, and so now this is just going to be hard. Instead of really giving myself access to the alternative, you know,
mm.
to, instead of hard, ease, you
Right.
know, because it's just like I feel like I'm here for a reason, and just learn it. And so, I guess the question that's coming up for me, how can we stay present, right? And learn the lessons that we need to learn, but still look to the alternative, look
Mm.
and have access to that.
I absolutely love that question. And that is actually very much what's coming to me when I'm hearing this alternative. Because, for example, you know, what I like to help people figure out is how do we make these mindfulness exercises more practical? My
Mm,
tagline is making mindfulness practical. That's what my whole One Up program is about.
right,
So how could I bring mindfulness in every single day, all like at a consistent basis? How could I always be in a mindful position? How could I meditate very quickly on the spot because I need to figure out, this is happening right now. How do I figure
right,
out what needs to be done? And so one of that, that's exactly what alternative means, and that's what I do when I'm asking myself, what is the alternative? You bring up, the grass is greener on the other side, but it still needs mowed, and it still needs, that we have to take care of it and stuff.
right.
Um, that's exactly it. That's exactly what that means. Is
Mm,
that is that if I'm in a position right now that, let's say, we're going to call it a hardship, a challenge,
right,
and I could ask myself, what is this ideal situation? How would I like this to look like in an ideal situation? And I could create that alternate reality right here, right now, in this moment. I have that power. I'm able to do that. In other words, if I'm looking across the lawn and I'm looking across the street and that person's lawn is greener, I'm able to go right now and go mow my lawn and make my lawn greener now. I don't have to
right,
sit around or wait, or because in my mind I'm thinking, what is the alternative? What
right,
does the alternative look like? And I
right.
love to visualize these things on a consistent basis. I try to do it twice a day before I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning. I try to
Mhm,
visualize, what does my ideal life look like? So I'm so
mm,
used to looking at this alternative, this ideal life, that I'm
right,
going to consistently bring it up along the day when I have these hardships. So I'm always
right.
aware of what's going on.
Wow. It's, I just, you just gave me access to, I guess my series of pity parties that I schedule, right? You know,
We all do
it's
it, don't
like,
worry.
right, it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, there is something else available to me instead of woe is me. This is what I'm dealing
Mm,
with. This is my lot of life. And what came up to me, and it's like, because I don't want to say I try not to be political, and sometimes I don't like um, I don't like to be like in the I don't want to say pop culture. It's like what's going on, and so I'll have to figure that out for myself. What's that all about? I know what it is, and I'll just say it. I believe that I am to speak to calling people forward. Right.
mm,
That is the call on my life, is to invite people to their alternative, right?
mhm,
To their next, to possibility. And so looking at what's present and doing that, I believe when I really sit in that, that's the conversations that I have. So when I speak, I'm speaking that can add value now, but there's more value to what I'm saying right now later.
right.
So how I kind of like work that out and kind of deal with that, that's that's who I am. So I'll say that to say this. About probably about 4 years ago, there was this thing that came up in the news, and it was like making fun of the alternative facts. And it's like, this is reality, and then there's alternative facts.
Mhm,
And it was a punchline. It was used as a hammer to different political opponents and all that. And it was a way, in my um, belief, to cause people to stop communicating.
mm,
The reality for me, I'll speak for myself, is that there are facts, and there are facts that I choose to believe,
mhm,
to dismiss, and those are alternative facts. Those
right.
are that right. It's like, it's not
Mhm,
I just made it up. It's just that because of my understanding, there are more than one appreciation and expressions of facts, and I think that's how I show up in my life. That I can show up in my life as woe is me, this is what's happening, or I can look as you invite your clients and yourself to do, is like, okay, what's the alternative?
mhm,
I can sit here and say, okay, I might not know how to get to the alternative, but I know there is one.
right. Right. Exactly.
And then maybe, having you or having people that I love around me that will help me get to that, or at least that it's possible, then I can move to it. So, yeah, like I said, I don't know if that was a soapbox, but I think, but there is really, it's, I, I believe that there is a truth, right? And our life, or my life, is in service to that.
Mhm,
And so how there are sometimes that I don't want to say deny the truth, or I can't understand the truth, or don't appreciate that truth. Um, and I miss the truth, right? Um, but it doesn't make that truth not, the
sure.
truth.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'm not rambling here, but it is, how can I embrace? So this is the question. How can I embrace that I am, and I am also becoming, right?
Mm,
So the truth is that I am, right? That I exist, but I am still becoming this more complete, awareness, and all
sure.
this type of person at the same time. It's not that there is this alternative William,
Mhm,
that show up differently for different people and different times in my life, but I am able to embrace that. I think within there was a question. So
oh
if
yeah,
there's
I
something
got it.
that you want to ask.
Yeah. No, I absolutely hear this, and it kept coming up, throughout what you consider was a ramble. I did not see it as a ramble at all. It was
Great.
great. And so the best way to answer that is through a story. And
Got it.
and so, for example, when I was dating, and the way it works in the Jewish Orthodox community is that we have to date through matchmakers. So we go to a matchmaker, and we give them of like a list of things that we're looking for in our spouse, and they help us find this spouse. And I'm coming at it from a mindful position. I've worked on myself. I know I know what typically I would be attracted to, or what would be attracted to me, or who would appreciate my lifestyle. But the person that I met did not recognize that, and they told me that I'll never meet this woman of my dreams, in a
Right.
sense.
Wow.
Okay, so that's what it was. It took me several years to eventually find that wife, that ideal wife, that person who I was just really looking for.
Right.
And it was between my engagement and my wedding and my marriage, that somebody came up to a mentor friend, a close friend of mine that's also a mentor. Somebody from our congregation came up to him and said, "Wow, did you notice how Yermi has completely changed in the past few years?" And my mentor looked at him and he said, "No, Yermi has never changed. He just
Hmm.
came out of his shell. He showed us
Wow.
more of who he is."
Hmm.
And so that really stuck to me. And I don't cry that easy. And I was just bursting in tears when he said that,
Right.
because it was so true. It was really like somebody really fully understood me in that sense, where I think we all have who we truly are, and we know who we are, and we know what's good for us. But then so many times we're around people, or around society, or around the community, or around whatever it is, that tell us that there's an alternative, their
Right.
alternative, and they want us
Right.
to just go into this alternative that they think is the correct, or the whatever. And
Right.
so, and then again, I ask myself, what is the alternative? Why did I come to decide that this is the kind of woman I want? It's not as if I'm asking for like an actress, or like a model, or like I'm
Right.
asking for just something that is working for me.
Right.
So 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 like, we have to ask ourselves, okay, maybe this alternative is true. Maybe what the community is saying is right. Let's give it a
Right.
shot. Let's look into it. But how does that put a mask on my face? Or does
Right.
that make me smaller? Or like, what does it do to me, the true me, you know?
Right.
And so really the answer, the bottom line is that we need to look at both alternatives. We have to look at both sides and say, who am I? Like, first I have to see myself as, who am I? And then
Right.
I have to see who is the others. Like, I still have to consider what they're saying. And then the bottom line is, like your quote was saying, just do it. I think you should just do it. Is that
Right.
stop listening to these outside noises. Stop listening
Right.
to your inner noises. How should I behave, or whatever, and really focus on that true alternative, the alternative that makes the most amount of sense for the kind of
Right.
life you want to live.
Right. Wow. I thank you for that story. I think what it it taught me, or what I got from it. This is what I got from it. It's many times that we we see our life, we know ourselves, we've done the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we see what we want, and we share that, and it's like, because nobody really knows us, you know,
Mm-hmm.
nobody can know us more than us,
Right,
but because of what they see, they can, make a guess, right? Right,
right.
And so many times I have seen my life be, I have decided to shrink my life to fit in someone else alternative life for
Mm-hmm.
me. Because when I'm not living my life, I'm living the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's the invitation in my self-awareness coaching, is to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
There is, at the end of the day, you can still love and appreciate the people that are around you, but it's your life.
Right.
And it's like, for me, when you brought up lifestyles, right? It's like alternative lifestyles. When the first thing in our society, when you hear alternative lifestyle, it's like something out of the norm, something
Right.
that is like crazy, right? It's like we're all living alternative lifestyles, right?
Yeah.
we're, it's like, or we're living somebody else's life, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
The alternative is you are living a less than life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but so many of us, and myself included, and I feel like I gave away so much of my life to what it was, quote unquote, supposed to be or should
Right.
be, or what people thought I should have, um, to to really connect with, um, I guess, who I know myself to be. When I'm looking at the
Mm-hmm.
cards that I shared, the U cards, I just see, um, I am kind, so I think I should just do it. Right? You
Mm-hmm.
know? So I am kind and lovable, so just do it.
Right.
And it's like sometimes I will question if I'm kind or if I'm lovable, you
Mm.
know? And because of that question, I won't do things. I won't
Exactly.
say what I need to say. I'll think of the alternative thing, because that'll be nicer, right?
Right. Right.
And then there's alternative reality, right? Right,
Mm-hmm.
to that. And then I wonder why things aren't showing up the way it feels right, or I know it to be true.
Right.
Oh boy, that's a deep
And
breath on that one.
yeah, and you just triggered in my mind when you said that alternative reality. So when we were sitting in school, studying psychology, we were learning about alternative reality in the term alternative reality. And the first example they brought, and they tend to always bring this up for some reason, was Steve Jobs. Like
Hmm.
when you think about alternative reality, you think Steve Jobs, and he was coined as this like crazy person. Here's to the crazy ones.
Right.
He created his alternative reality in a sense, and it really occurs to me, and it like I learned my lesson from that, especially being an executive coach. Is that why would I go in to start up a business? For what reason? Why do
Mm,
people start up a business? They
right.
see a problem, they think they have the solution, and they're
Right.
exploring this alternative to this issue that they
Right.
believe has a solution. And if Steve Jobs was just going to conform to what everybody said should be done,
Right.
which he did, I mean, which they tried to enforce on him. Eventually they kicked him out of his company, in
Right.
his early years. But then
Right.
they realized that his alternative was truly something worth exploring. They
Right.
brought him back, and he creates the most, you know, profitable company in the universe, like in ever.
Right.
Um, and this really, when I do my coaching, and when I work with people, I tell them, think back of a time when you were in school, let's say, when you were in class,
Right.
and like when I envision, so I have this vision in my mind. There's a child that he's in class, and when it's recess time, he wants to just chill out and relax. He goes to the
Right.
picnic table, and he opens up a book and starts reading, and that's his way of relaxing.
Right.
And the boys in the yard come up to him with a ball, and they're like, "Hey, you know, we're boys. Like we're supposed to play or whatever." And they invite, like, they're like, don't be a little, I don't know what they like, some negative word that they would probably use or
Right.
whatever. What children typically do. What are you reading a book? You should be playing basketball with us or whatever.
Right.
And over time, this kid starts believing that, oh, boys play basketball in recess time. That's what they have to do.
Right.
But recess is really a time to relax. It doesn't matter how you do
Right.
it.
Right.
And
Wow.
so we create these stories in our mind, that these alternate stories which suppress who we truly are. If that child was just allowed to explore how he relaxes, what's wrong with reading a book? you
Right.
know and so that's the purpose. We have to stick to our alternative and not listen to what society decides as our alternative. we
Right.
should, we should listen to it. I mean, we should pay attention, see if we could grab something, but explore our true alternative. And once we're able to explore that, our life is just so much more meaningful and fulfilling.
Right. Oh, geez. I totally get that. It's because, I'm coming up on a year of doing this show.
Wow.
And the one thing that last year taught me that there was a lot of things that I was calling um, reasons were really excuses.
Mm,
Um, and that I wasn't giving myself permission to just show up in my life
right.
because I felt that, like you were saying, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. This is what an entrepreneur should do. And, anytime anything outside of that, I am like goofing off or
Mm,
not serious or all that. And, all I was this little kid reading a book, right? And it's like, that's what I needed to do. That's what I wanted to do to kind of get the information that I needed to, so I can show up for my clients and everything. But I was kind of fighting myself, and then wondering why things weren't in flow, right? Wondering
mm,
why
mm.
things weren't at ease, because there was this schoolyard mentality of, dude, what are you doing right now? Right? Why aren't you doing what everybody else is doing? Why,
Yeah,
how do we do our reading in class, right?
yeah.
Outside of that, you don't read, right?
Mm,
And it's that, you use the word, the label that I remember, mentor, right?
mhm,
And I had to come to terms with this for myself. And is that, yes, I get to have people that will speak into my life. But at the end of the day, I am going to have to make a decision.
right,
I,
right.
so I can get all the counsel in the world,
Mhm,
but until I kind of like say, not I'm doing it because Yermi said it,
mhm,
but I'm said because William. This is what William said, and this is what
right,
William going to do. And so,
right.
really, um, looking at mentors and coaches and advisors, whatever label that you want to put on them,
Mhm,
but the alternative is not living your life, and
exactly.
answer for yourself. Because I don't know about you, but I've had people, in the nicest possible way, blame me for their life not working out the way they want it. Because, hey, you told me to do this.
Right.
No, I invited you to try some things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And most of that you didn't do, right?
yeah.
And this is what you get. But that's another story. That's an inside coach mentor conversation type of thing.
Sure.
But how do we share? I think what's coming up for me now, and how do we share the alternative for people
Mm,
that
mm.
are looking for that, but they can't currently see it?
I love that question. I absolutely love that question. Um, and I think I've been asking that to myself when I started my coaching. I had no intentions whatsoever to ever become a coach or anything like that. That was never the plan. I had once a consulting business, and I almost vowed to myself never to go back into that field again.
Right.
Um, and I was just kind of like dropped right into it and sort of encouraged to do it again. But this time around, I said, this time it has to be different. And so, what we typically see, and this is something that has been bothering me a lot about coaches. And I have nothing against, different kinds of coaches that there are, but this is what I personally, Yermi, doesn't like about coaches. That, hey, I figured it all out. I went through all the hardships. I know
Right.
all the solutions. It's my way or the highway, in a sense.
Right.
I did all the mistakes for you, and here's my solution to your better, easier life.
Right.
You know, I you don't know what my life is. You don't know
Right.
what I've got. I don't know. And I've done some of these courses. I paid 25, $3,000, whatever it was. I
Right.
paid them, and they didn't work. Let's be honest, they didn't.
Right.
I got a little bit of what I got, but it didn't change my life. I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not, I'm
Right.
not yet those people, And
Right.
so when I was exploring coaching all over again, I said, I don't have the solutions. I don't. Let's be honest. I don't
Right.
know. I'm exploring. That's all I'm doing.
Right.
And what I do for myself is for myself. And I just continuously explore myself all day long, all the
Right.
time. And I'm so used to exploring myself that I'm able to invite you to do the same. That's what sets me apart from, from just a regular person. And you
Right.
have a lot of people are like, oh, a coach that never made $1 million could never coach you to make $1 million. Well, let's be frank about it. Who cares about that coach who made $1 million? You're the
Right.
one without $1 million. That's the bottom line. Who
Right.
cares? The coach with
Right.
like, who cares about that, right? And I
Right.
often like recently I started coaching other coaches, just because they're asking. So I said, yeah. Um, and one of the first things I just tell them, get off your laurel and get off your accolades. Nobody cares about you for real. They care about themselves. They aren't in a current pain. Can you help them navigate their pain? That's the bottom line.
Right.
That's the bottom line, ultimately.
Right.
And so I only share stories from my experience only to bring contrast, only to bring alternatives,
Right.
only for that. I don't want it to sound like I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I know
Right.
it all. None of that. That doesn't matter. But I
Right.
invite you to explore in your life. Do you remember a scenario similar to that kid in the playground? Has that ever
Right.
occurred to you in your life? How did
Right.
you feel about it? And what is the alternative to that story? Could you dismantle the negative, energy that's around that story and create
Right.
an alternative story? Go back to
Got
that
it.
childhood moment and recreate the scenario in your mind.
Right.
Create that alternative.
Wow. It's kind of funny because I was, one of those quiet kids, quiet, shy kids that um there's a part of me that didn't open the book, but I was just like sitting there, just
Right.
like staring at the clouds or following a butterfly or a bird or something, or something. For me, I was very focused, you're right. And to other people, I was like zoning out and just kind of
Mm,
like, in this alternative world, right? Type of thing. I don't
yeah.
know where, at the time little Willie just went, but that's how that's how it looked. But really, there was a part of my growing up that was all about observation and just seeing how
Yeah.
people were showing up and people were
Yeah.
doing and how people were playing and working and just kind of dealing with each other. And until you were just saying that, I just like those stories, those observations um, are like a part of my toolkit that
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it until until just now. But it is something that it's not the truth, right? But it's just it's just a way to kind of look at how your life is showing up, and
Mm,
and I think that there is something that it's like how you do anything is how you do everything, right.
mm,
I don't know if you've heard that, and
mhm,
it's like, so that is an inquiry, right, about what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
And see if there's any patterns. That may not be the truth, because there's sometimes it's like, well, that's just not true, right? But
Yeah,
there's like,
yeah.
oh, well, yeah, there's some other areas where that's coming up, or that will come up, for me. But really, how can I think for me, and I think what sometimes with the people that I'm coaching, I don't know if it's like unplugging from the matrix, right?
Mm,
And just kind of dealing with their life, right, as this unknown. Because I think it's
right,
Joseph Campbell that says that if you can see your path, and if you can see the path in front of you, it's not your path, right?
right. Yeah,
Your path is the one that you create.
yeah.
And I think so many of us that pay all the money for the courses, that look to to do that because someone says, hey, I will make your path a lot easier, just follow
Mhm.
my path.
Right.
And yeah, yes, they got a lot of money on the way, on their journey. But I think what the image just came up for me is all of the stupid shit that they did to get to their $1 million.
Mhm.
That's where we are right now, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
And yeah, they have the information, the knowledge, and everything to get there now, but still, the path that they just invited us on is all the crap that they had. And
Now it's
now we're
payback
dealing
time.
with that.
Yeah,
Oh, good Lord.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
I have a lot of dear friends that are coaches, and maybe we just need to have a conversation. It's like, okay, don't invite people, to deal with your crap.
Mhm.
But give them some keys. And that's why I say with um self-awareness, and awareness is not the answer.
Mhm.
It's a key. It's an access
Right,
point. You
right,
still got some choices and decisions to make.
right,
Your life can go a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different alternatives,
right.
that could happen if you're open to it. But if you're not aware, you can be
Mhm.
anywhere, right?
That's
And you
right.
don't even know.
Exactly.
So the awareness is to help you, be a little more intentional.
Hmm. I think it really boils down to, A, how we were raised as children,
Hmm.
B, how we maintain our life, how we continuously, the stories that we tell, or the inner landscape, as I like to call it, the voices that we keep repeating to ourselves as we progress in
Right.
our life, and ultimately the world that we're leaving behind us. So either it's our children, either it's our whoever it is that we are, influencing in a sense, um, and that is a lesson where, and it's funny that again I never ever imagined myself ever becoming a coach,
Hmm.
but it's something that I guess my mom put into us, like at least into me as a child. And this is something I do in my, like I have a course that I'm actually right now building and releasing, but it's called Relationships, and
Hmm.
it was a compilation of talks, that I gave to different groups, and the group that of parents, I would give a talk to parents, to for school children and stuff like that. And typically, what we hear a lot of parents asking their children, they ask them, "What would you like to be when you grow up?" Most
Right.
common question parents ask children.
Right.
Um, and the average child will answer, I don't know, Superman, garbage man,
Right.
doctor,
Right.
um, and I won't go into the whole discussion of it because it's really long and everything, but it's a whole hour discussion for itself. But the bottom line is that we are setting our children up to failure when we ask
Hmm.
them, what do you want to be when you grow up? We're literally
Right.
setting them up to failure,
Hmm.
because a child at that age, whatever age it is, usually younger, when he thinks of Superman, what he really is thinking is a person who's trying to do good in the world, who's trying
Hmm.
to, trying to bring peace and trying to bring whatever it is, right?
Right.
That's what
Wow.
he's thinking, you know. Now on TV, it looks like Superman can jump off a roof and fly and whatever.
Right.
And all of a sudden, when this kid starts growing up and starts realizing that he doesn't have these superpowers or whatever,
Right.
he starts getting disappointed, and then he starts realizing that, hey, it's not all what it seems, and this is just a dream. And and the child is literally his very first dream is already crushed right then and there.
Right. Wow.
So the more dreams he has, and the more dreams get crushed, the faster he gives up on dreaming. You see.
Wow.
So what's the alternative? Right? We have to always ask ourselves, what's the alternative?
Right.
The alternative is the way my mom used to always ask us, and from a very young age. And she would ask, what is a problem that you want to solve in the world?
Wow.
Yeah. And as a child, it's like, problem? Like, what
Right.
problem? Like,
I
what's
got
a
no
problem?
problems. Right.
Show me a kid that has problems, like,
Right.
what's the kid's problem? He didn't get a cookie that night when he begged his mom? That, like, what was his biggest problem? Okay. But what it did do is that it set me up for, I always, as a child, from 9, 10 years old, I would always look for problems in the world. Where are problems?
Right.
And, oh, wow, here's a lemonade stand. I don't like how that kid does his lemonade stand, so let me do an alternative lemonade stand. All of a sudden, I'm the head of the lemonade stands,
Right.
Oh, there's this. And all of a sudden, I started looking for problems from a very young age,
Wow.
and always looked for solutions. So I have a lot of experience in that area, and that's why starting up a business is not scary. So that's why if we teach our kids to look at alternatives and to look at where are problems, where are solutions, that invites our children, and then in extension to ourselves as well.
Right.
If we stop asking ourselves, what do we want to be when we grow up, because we're always
Right.
seeing ourselves in, like, what's the next thing I could do to make $1 million? Stop focusing on that. Start looking for problems and start
Right.
finding solutions, and that's how we should
Right.
raise our children, I think, or raise the next, and I do that in my
Right.
coaching. And that's exactly what I do to my coaching. I tell people, give me the ultimate goal. What does the ultimate goal look like?
Right.
Okay, now how do we reach to that goal? Not what do you want to be when you grow up, in a sense. What are you trying to
Right.
accomplish with your business? But what's your business trying to do? What problem is it solving?
Great. You know what? It's like coaches borrow things from other coaches, but how that landed for me. What problem do you want to solve? That gives you access to your desires,
Mm-hmm.
I think, to your purpose, to you. I think we come here, complete with with instructions that we have to read over our life, right?
Right.
That we don't understand, and all that. But I think the brilliant question of asking a child that and looking for problems and for solutions, and they are a part of the solutions. You see yourself as a part of the solutions, and not like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what Johnny is doing is a problem, right?
Right.
But it is, I can help with that problem. I
Mm-hmm.
can, something that I can do that will make a difference in that. And I
Right.
think the more that we really embrace that and ask ourselves that question, then it gives us access to ourselves.
Right.
It really gives us access to who we are, or who the desires of our heart, even.
Mm.
Because there are just some things that you look, puppies in kennels on TV with sad music. Yeah, I get emotional, but it doesn't cause me to like adopt a dog, right?
Right.
Right?
I was about to say, yeah.
That is not, so yes, you touched on a heartstring, but not my, the thing that will solve, so I get it. That's a problem, and I want to see less of that. But the more that I am willing to ask myself, what problems do I see, and how do I want to be a part
Exactly.
of the solution,
Mhm.
then there's alternatives. Then it's like then we're cooking with gas. I mean, I am
Yeah.
like really inspired because there is that awareness, right? There is that awareness that there's like three different types of awareness that I've been talking with my clients about. It's like personal awareness, self awareness. There is the environmental awareness, right? And there's situational awareness, right? So those are the three that have come up often, and many times um, I am not aware of the environment that I'm in,
Right.
and if I'm not
Right.
aware of the environment and I in, there's no way that I can solve any problems there,
Totally.
right? And
Hmm.
so starting with this awareness, um, oh boy, I mean, like I said, I'm like Jazz. I can't wait for your program to finish so I can send people there. It's like, look,
Sure.
this is great. I mean, because you said something earlier today that I want to bring up. As we close, that you were. It's like you didn't change. You just got out of your shell, right?
Yeah.
And that's my first book,
Oh,
Beyond
wow.
the Shell. Beyond the Shell, finding you beyond what protects you.
Mm,
It's like really being yourself, because sometimes when we're in our shell, we kind of lose ourselves because we just think that that's who we are.
right.
And so that shell could have been the expectations, the alternative life that the matchmaker wanted you to have. It's like, dude, yeah,
Hmm.
that woman that you're describing, it doesn't exist. This
Right.
is, this is what, is available to you. You could have easily accepted that
Hmm.
reality, and found a lovely person that you may not be married to, right
True.
now.
Yeah. Listen. Hey. True.
and
Yeah.
and and like I said, I'm not trying to be funny, but that's what we do, and
Yeah.
then we wonder why, right?
Hmm.
But the more that we are willing to really be beyond what's protecting us, we find ourselves.
Right.
And then we're not living an alternative life; we're living our life.
Right.
So, is there anything? I thank you for this. Is there anything else that you want to leave everybody with?
Sure. So I always love to give something of value and of something tangible, not only just talk and stuff. What I do encourage people is to always connect with me, and just mention that they're from your show, from William's show. I'm actually writing a book right now, and I'm about to release it very soon. I'm halfway through. I'm about to finish it. It's actually 10 lessons I learned from my, dating life story,
Right.
that is applied into business. So,
Wow. Okay.
so that ties into that, what other people told me to sort of look for, and just, sort of like to add a little bit of tension. It took me 8 years to
Hmm.
finally find my wife. So for 8 years, I was dating actively, trying to find the right person for me,
Right.
in my dating world, obviously, but it was very difficult. And today in my business, I'm using those same applications in my personal business and in helping other people in their business.
Wow.
So I am offering that book as a download. The ebook is going to be for free,
Wow.
for anybody who mentions your show. So
Oh,
find a way to
wonderful.
contact me, and that's a gift I'd love to give everybody.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. That is very generous. I really get that. There's an alternative. We don't have to stay where we are. We don't have to settle for less.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for that.
for sure.
This has been a wonderful conversation, and
Likewise.
I'm sure. Look, we're gonna be showing up in a lot of different places. So you're gonna see Yermi and I, kind of chatting it up somewhere else, if it's not Clubhouse or or something else, or maybe I'll even have you on my other show, Healing Conversations, and do that. So, but thank you very much for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to put you back in the green room, and if you're able to stay, we can say our goodbyes from there. But
Sure.
this has been wonderful.
Likewise.
Wow, what's the alternative? No judgment. Just look at what the alternative is, so that you can show up fully in your life. I really got that. I am taking that on. Really, I have a couple messages that are on my computer, right above my computer screen, that reminds me for the day. And there are two things that's come up from this conversation that I am going to write on a post-it notes that is right above me. So I'll take a look at. And one of them is, what's the alternative? And is what is the problem that you want to solve? That's it. I'll get access to myself, and then that's where my focus will be. So, well, I hope this conversation has made a difference, not just to your day, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at youverything.com for your complimentary discovery session. I think it's about 45 minutes or an hour. I don't know. We'll look at it there. But yeah, so we'll just figure out who you are, and so you can show up in the world. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you next time on One Word Conversations.